Hello. So, I normally do videos about religious stuff or evolution and creation, that type of stuff. And, well, honestly, what my videos are about is stupid people. That's what it is about. So, I was on blogtv last night. I've recently been on there just in the last couple days. And I came across after watching this Live Life show. That's the YouTuber that runs the show. I don't remember exactly what the show is called. It might be Live Life as well. They've got a show on tonight, Skeptic Fence. I'm probably going to try and catch that. But anyways, that show got over with, and I was like, well, what else is on here? Because I'm new to it and figuring out what else is there. And I came across America's Third Party, and yeah, idiots. And David, I'm actually going to send this video to you, so don't be too offended about you calling you idiot, because I call a lot of people idiots. Anyways, David, you just aren't articulate enough to be a president, ever. You don't think ideas through, either. And you know, I think I'm going to go over a few of them with you. So let's look at your platform here. Let's see, comprehensive energy plan. In 4 years' time, we can eliminate our reliance on foreign oil by creating plug-in hybrid electric vehicles that cost under $15,000 and get 100 miles per gallon. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Your idea of how to do this is by creating a U.S. Auto Corp. The citizens of the United States aren't going to want that. You yelled at me about how President Obama isn't listening to the country. You're not listening to the country either. They don't want that. In addition, you support responsible domestic oil drilling and creating burner nuclear reactors. Burner nuclear reactors, I had to look up what they were. Turns out there's two different types of reactors. Guess what? Nuclear reactors aren't the way to go. And do you know how I know this? Is because they're not working right now. Within 50 miles of my house, there's a nuclear reactor that's being decommissioned because it was up for sale and no one wanted to buy it. And why does no one want to buy it? Because of fracking. The price of natural gas is so very low right now, and it's going to remain low because of fracking, that nuclear energy is not a viable option. It just costs way too much. There's no profit in this nuclear plant, and that's why no one wants to buy it, and that's why it's going to be decommissioned. It's really that simple. But let's go on to the next one. So I was totally wrong on what this pipeline thing was. That's why I had to re-record this. I actually found the thing on the pipeline on your webpage there. Hilarious. And here's why. My yard is 50 feet wide. It's nice and long, but it's only 50 feet wide. But the idea you're suggesting here is these units are 10 feet long. Okay, you put 5 of them across the back of my yard. According to you, in a day, those units are going to give me 7.5 gallons of water. 7.5 gallons of water. Now, what's the problem with that? Well, the average human uses 140. I mean, I was looking at the stats for my city, and my guess is they were using just at what you use in your residence, and they said 45 gallons per person a day. But, I mean, even make it less. I don't know. Say you're the type that's, if it's yellow, let it mellow and everything else, you're cutting it down to 25 gallons a day. You're not going to get enough water from this pipeline to make a difference at all. A gallon and a half doesn't go far. I mean, you're talking about fighting drought. A gallon and a half for the square footage that you're talking about here doesn't even water that same amount of land, as a footprint of it. It's just, your ideas are so impractical. I mean, dear God, man. So this next one, the mobile medical units, that's not horrible. I think 200 of them is a bit much. If you're hitting, these are going to really only be deployed in the case of natural disasters. You've got hospitals, standing buildings for all the rest. And in natural disasters, people getting to hospitals might be difficult. Hospitals might be short on capacity because of damage from a natural disaster. So in that way, these things wouldn't be very useful normally, but in a natural disaster, they could actually be useful. Of course, the whole paying a copay thing might be a little hard in a natural disaster as well, but not a horrible plan. But let's look at some of your other plans here. Honestly, one of the things I see problem with the mobile units is the cost. Where is that $2 billion going to come from? And this next one, the opt-in health insurance, where is that $6 billion? Well, actually $7 billion, because there's another $1 billion for monitoring or additional support for unseen costs. But anyways, where's that money coming from? You cite this idea of $50 per month. How are you going to make it $50 a month? 3,000 new public doctors. Where are these doctors coming from? You're going to try and get people to come out of medical school and become public doctors? If they can make more in the private sector, they're going to. And so the ideas you have here, I mean, they sound good, but they just don't work. That's all it is to it. I mean, you're looking at some of the problems and you're trying to address it, but you're not dealing with the underlying problems within the system, and that's why your ideas they're silly. But let's go to the next one. Solar panels, good thing, but here again you show your total lack of understanding of how the system works. You're talking about how the government will supply infrastructure for solar panels on the roof on roofs in America. But here's the problem: the government isn't the ones doing electrical infrastructure. There are companies that do this, and the government regulates these companies, but they're companies nonetheless. They create profits, and this idea you're suggesting, it is not something that they're on board with doing, and there's so many reasons for that. Part of it is the cost of natural gas being so low. Why pay for expensive infrastructure for these solar panels when they can simply build a natural gas fired power plant at fractions of the cost and have a higher energy output? So it's cost benefit analysis, and your argument just isn't swaying them on cost benefit. So you got to have a better argument than this, and saying the government will do this, government will do that. The government doesn't have the power to do this because they don't own the electrical companies. They can regulate them, but they can't tell them exactly what to do every step of the way. And so in this way, you've got the problem here is you just don't understand that. And it's clear that you don't understand it. Now, I don't know much about HUD, so I'm going to go into the next one, because I don't have the experience or the knowledge set to comment on it. But your next one about transparency in the White House, and in our webcam in the Oval Office every morning for 1 hour. You do realize that this is the presidency, right? Where the president actually has to get stuff done, and on average, people sleep for about 8 hours. I tend to sleep a little bit less, but I'm a bit of an insomniac, so that's my own problem. Anyways, but so you've got 8 hours of sleep, and you got 1 hour of this. That's quite a bit of time, actually. Especially when you say that there's 4 years of this, because I doubt you get elected a second term with these ideas. But that's just me. So the idea of having a webcam every morning where people can talk to you, it would be nonsensical, because like your blog TV thing, there was a lot of people on there that night when I popped over. It was hard to keep a train of thought going on any given subject, and President of the United States, you're going to have more exposure than that. It would be impossible to have any meaningful conversation in that format. But here, let's go on to your little comment here. Herd mentality and the end of freedom. It's final stretch for election 2012. Most Americans have been corralled into either the pen on the left or the pen on the right. No, I wasn't corralled. But moreover, in this scenario, what you're trying to do is corral people into your own pen. So it's kind of pot calling the kettle black here, and you just don't even need to realize that you're doing that, and that's kind of sad. So basically, you'd never ever get my vote. Never. Because you really jump on way too many ideas. After Friday night's thing, you had a thing about how the medicine is really killing people. That modern medicine is really killing people. There's a reason we have modern medicine. It's because it works. There's a reason we don't call some of these different, like acupuncture, what's the one where they dilute this stuff down real far? Homeopathy. There's a reason we don't call this stuff modern medicine, because it doesn't work. There's people that have put out studies and were actually curious to see if it did or didn't work, and every time they're like, no, it doesn't. And so, you're willing to go for that and be like, oh yeah, that works, and conspiracy theories galore. Oh God, I gotta tell you, it's really horrible. I mean, you ended the thing with talking about Conspiracy Theory Monday, and about how you're talking about this woman who committed suicide, and they were suggesting, ooh, it might be MI6. Yeah, no, the woman who committed suicide, it's going to be found out that she was troubled, that there was a lot of things that added up, and that these guys on the radio pranking her was the thing that pushed her over the edge. And maybe, hopefully, these guys will realize they maybe shouldn't be acting as childish, but I don't want to blame them completely for their actions, because how are they supposed to know the mental state of anyone else? So, anyways, yeah, I'm not going to vote for you. But honestly, one of the things that really show how intelligent a person is when they realize what their limits are. And you guys have no clue on what your limits are. I know for a fact, if I tried really hard, if I was really going to devote my time for this, the best I could ever do would be mayor. I mean, I would have a hard time even getting onto the school board. So like mayor would be like just saying the right things at the exact right time and being in the right place and everything else. But honestly, I don't think I'll ever be mayor. If I wanted to, I don't even think I'd make it on the school board. There's certain skill sets that are involved, and I can tell from you guys right now, you don't have the skill set. But moreover, vice presidential candidates and presidential candidates, they have certain qualities about them, and presidents need to be more articulate than you, David. Sarah would be better as a president than a vice president, because vice presidents need to be the bulldog type character, which, given how you ranted last night, especially after I got you riled up a little bit, wasn't trying to rile you up, sorry, but after I did, it was clear to me that if there's the bulldog character, David, you fit that part naturally, and Sarah does not. So really, you should flip the ticket. But, well, who am I? Anyways, honestly, you're not going to corral people into pens when your ideas are so poorly articulated, and that's why you're not getting on any talk shows. You don't have anything that doesn't sound wacky, or if you do have something that doesn't sound wacky, you look at your platform and everything, it's like, oh, wow, this guy's wacky. I mean, I just looked at this stuff about filtration. Ooh, we should hitch filtration on wind turbines and this, that, and the other thing. What? Now, see, I can tell you why it's wacky, but this video is already really long, and it takes a long time to explain this sort of thing, especially for people like you, which I don't think quite understand the whole principles behind it. So I'm not going to cover it right now. So, really, your ideas are just so impractical. I mean, I get the idea of being idealist. I'm very much an idealist myself, but at the end of the day, I have to realize that being an idealist doesn't get anywhere. You have to be a pragmatist, and you're not. And that's what people need, is someone who's going to be practical, and you're not. So you're not going to get elected. So, good luck. So, if you're not getting elected, why am I telling you this? Why did I spend a decent amount of my time making this video? Well, because you're silly, and I make videos about silly people. But honestly, if you would take some of this advice and actually realize that this is constructive criticism on my part, maybe one day you could realize, and then do something actually meaningful about it. But honestly, third parties come from parties breaking apart and reforming. You're going to have a third party being the Tea Party before you're going to have a third party being you guys. I'm sorry.